my live broadcast. And I sincerely greet you. I wish you all the blessings of God. Happy Sunday to you. And I hope you were able to enjoy your Sunday. I hope you were able to take a good rest and even go to church for those who are Christians and say a prayer to God for yourself, for your well being, for your success. But most importantly, I want to congratulate the Super Falcons, the Nigerian female national team, for their victory in the recently concluded uh, African Women's Nations Cup in Morocco. They really did well to come back from 2-0 to equalize and win Morocco, the home team, despite their home support. It's like they were playing 11 against 12, yet they were able to defeat the Moroccans. It was not easy. I watched the match and I felt in the first half disappointed when when they were 2 goals down. I was wondering, oh my God, this is not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for the Super Falcons. But thank God they were able to defeat the Moroccans and win the cup. So that is kudos to Nigeria. Congratulations, Nigeria. Congratulations, the women. Congratulations to those young ladies that represented Nigeria. And this is a moment when one feels proud to be a Nigerian. This is a moment when one says, oh, I'm happy that we were able to at least win something, get a victory that will announce us not only in Africa to the rest of the world. So, once again, congratulations to the Super Falcons. And I'm proud to be a Nigerian. I'm happy to be a Nigerian and I'm proud to be a Nigerian. So, today we are discussing very important but sensitive topic, which says the end and the means, or the end or the means. And this topic comes from this statement that says, the end justifies the means. How do you explain that? The end justifies the means. So, my question here is the means or the end? Which one should justify the other? Is it the means that should justify the end, or the end should justify the means? I would like us to take just some moments today and analyze this statement. Because sometimes we make statements and say that was how our forefathers used to say it. But I love to analyze certain statements like this to be sure that these statements that are made are not only logical, but they are practicable and sustainable. So when we talk of the end and the means, the end justifies the means. What it means is that if you steal from a bank to pay hospital bills for people who are sick, that's a good end. You have done something good. But the means is that you stole money from the bank. So the end has now justified the means. Maybe I'm the one not getting it right. I would like to be corrected if I'm not getting it right, or if I'm not really getting the understanding of this statement. The end justifies the means. So when you do something bad to get a good end, it means that good end will justify the bad means. It's just like you telling me that it is okay to rob Peter in order to pay Paul. You are owing Paul, and you go and rob Peter, and you settle your bill with Paul. Paul is happy with you, and then you say the end has justified the means. I don't think it is correct if it is understood in this sense. Rather, I would have said, for the sake of ethical justice and moral justice, that the means should justify the end. The means should justify the end. But it is the end that is looking for justification. So why is the means not looking for justification? So the means should be justified as much as the end. So the means and the end should both be justified. If it has to be a justifiable act. So when someone tells me, oh, don't worry, the end justifies the means, I ask myself, are you sure you understand what you're saying? That the end justifies the means? So if you steal my money to go and give it to the poor, then I should clap for you because you just did a good act, even though the means was through stealing. What it tells me also is that one may praise the politicians who go ahead to loot public funds, to steal money from the public purse and use it to go and pay tithes in the church. They have paid tithes, so they should be justified. They will go to heaven because they paid tithes. Let me not talk about tithes. Let me just talk about something different. They used it to build hospital, for instance. Of course, if they built hospital, that fund, that public fund, was actually meant to be used for public goods, to be used to build infrastructures. So if they steal the money and use it to build schools, use it to build roads, use it to build hospitals, then they're actually utilizing the money for that which it is meant for. But when they steal it and use it to buy vehicles, buy things for themselves, and then use a little chunk of the money to pay hospital bills for people, and those people they assisted will come and be praising them and saying, oh, you are a God sent, you go to heaven. Because the end justifies the means. I'm just thinking aloud. Maybe you have a different opinion on this. But my opinion is that the end should not always justify the means. The end should not always justify the means. Sometimes, yes, the end can justify the means, but it's not always, because it's not always that the means becomes a good means. There was this story in Nigeria of a very notorious criminal who was known as Anini. Anini, I've forgotten his first name. This man operated with his fellow criminals. One was called Monde Osumbo. and the other one was a police inspector or ASP, police officer, who was collaborating with them, and they were stealing money from banks, killing security operatives in the process. And when they were arrested, one of the things they said was the money they stole, they were using it to pay hospital bills for people. They were using the money to help people who were living in abject poverty. And my question is, you are using money you stole to help people living in abject poverty, to bring them out of poverty, but in the process of getting that money, you have killed people. That is a bad means. Or in Nigeria also, there's this group of boys they call Yahoo Yahoo boys. People who do all sorts of money rituals. And such people, they they engage in different occultic activities to make money. Some people even sacrifice their parents. Some people sacrifice their loved ones. We have heard stories of people who used their girlfriends for money ritual, their siblings for money rituals. Even little children have been used for money ritual. And when I think of such things and such people coming around in the church to say, we want to build a befitting place of worship for God, and they use such money to build a befitting place of worship for God. In the end, the person kneels down in front of the altar and the priest blesses this person. And you tell me the end has justified the means? The end, in this case, does not justify the means. The means, once it is rotten, does not justify the end, even if the end is a good end. We have principles of justice. And one of the principles of justice is that you should treat people the way you want them to treat you. You don't use people to do money ritual and then your own life is special. Why don't you use your own life to do money ritual? Why don't you sacrifice your life to help such people? After slaughtering people, well, I would just say the end does not justify the means. Always. No, it's not always. It's not always. So I'm sorry if I used the certain words that are not allowed on YouTube, but I like the word KILL. I I would try to resist from using such words or using certain words that attract attention on YouTube. So, for the sake of the community, these are sensitive words. I I'm sorry if I used those words and uh, out of emotion, but it's important that we point out certain things, because if we don't point them out, people will still go ahead and be doing them, thinking that they are right. So, and one of them is just this issue I'm talking about: the end and the means. The end does not always justify the means. So we can go ahead and give other examples We can give other examples of people using a bad end to get a good, using a bad means to get a good end. Yes. Yesterday in my live program, I narrated a story of a young boy whose mother was very, very sick and he needed medication for his mother. And he had no money. They were very, very poor. And in order to prevent his mother from passing out, he needed to get medication by all means. And the only option he had was to go to a pharmacy store and take the medication his mother needed. But going to the pharmacy to take medication that his mother needs would require stealing it. And this boy, out of desperation, goes into a pharmacy store and actually takes the medication without paying for it. Now, if he's caught in that process, if you're the owner of the pharmacy store, what would you say to the boy? How would you treat him? Would you see him as a thief, or would you see him as a very good boy? A very good boy who is making effort to save his mother's life. Just think about this. Think about this thing I'm saying. The end and the means. The end justifies the means, or the means justifies the end. So, are you thinking about this? Think about it properly. The end and the means. Which one should be justifying the other? The end justifies the means. The means justifies the end. I think it is the means that should be justifying the end. Yes. Not the other way around, not the end justifying the means. So, in ethics, every act we put on, every act we put out there has three things that justifies it. So it's not just about the end. It's not the end we are looking at. Now we are looking at the things that should even justify an act. A particular act that is bad is bad. And when we talk of bad, we are talking of a particular act that is intrinsically bad. And one of such acts, example, is stealing. Stealing is a bad act. It is intrinsically bad. And there's nothing you will do that justifies it and says, because stealing was used for this particular thing, I think stealing is now good. Because you used the money you stole to build a church, stealing is now good. Because you used the money you stole to train a priest or train a reverend sister in the church, the stealing is now good. No. Certain acts are intrinsically bad. And when they are intrinsically bad, they are bad. A bad act is bad act. But there are acts that are neutral. They are not considered intrinsically bad. What makes them bad would be would depend on the intention and the circumstance. So when you place an act and you want to justify the act, you want to know if the act is morally good or bad. There are two things you look at. Apart from the act, there are two things you look at. And these two things are the intention and the circumstance. And probably that's where the issue of the end justifying the means comes up. I'm just trying to be very, very rational here to reason it properly. So these two things, the intention and the circumstance of the act, would justify the act. So let us think of one particular act now. The act of a small boy picking up money that fell on the ground, money belonging to a very rich man, and he uses the money to go and buy food to eat because he was very, very hungry and he was about to die of hunger. But instead of taking this money back to the owner, he decides to use it to buy food to eat so that he will not die of hunger. The question now is, did this little child do something wrong? What he did, is it wrong? That's the act of taking that money he saw. And he saw the money fall out of the pockets of this rich man. So why didn't he take the money back to the rich man? So that's where we now ask the intention and the circumstance. So this poor boy, one would say the intention for taking this money was so that he will not die of hunger, to save his life. This is becoming more interesting. So that's the intention. The intention was to save his life so that he will not die of hunger. And the circumstance in this case is the circumstance of taking something that belongs to someone. That's the circumstance. Under what circumstance did he find the money? He found it in the circumstance of it falling from somebody's pockets, and he saw the owner. So in the circumstance where he was, he could have given that money back immediately to the owner and said, please, sir, take. So I would say the intention was good, but the act is still bad. The act of taking that money, even though the intention was to save his life, to go and buy food and eat and save his life, the act was still bad because there is something we call honor. Honor. When you begin to take something that does not belong to you, no matter the circumstance, no matter the intention, you become dishonorable. That is why it pains me. In Nigeria, the people who are in the houses of assembly, both state and federal, they call them honorable members. What honor? They are dishonorable members. People in the houses of assembly, both state and federal House of Assembly in the Senate, they are dishonorable members because they steal money to survive. They steal money they live on the money they are stealing every day. They are looting. And because they are doing that, they are dishonorable members. But I'm not talking about them in today's video. They are not my intention. What I'm talking about is the end justifying the means, and the means justifying the end. So which one is correct? Often when we say the end justifies the means, because I think that is what will be coming into the heads of most of these people. When they think about it, they say, don't worry, the end justifies the means. It's just like saying that we are about to conduct an election, and then during the election, you do so many things, you unalive people, but put a lot of people away, spoil a lot of things, and then you take the ballot boxes, snatch them, burn them, and then put your candidates in power. And at the end, your candidate begins to build roads, begin to build schools. And you say, can't you see that the end has justified the means? That it is okay that this person is in power because this person is building roads, this person is building schools. So the end has justified the means. The end has not justified any means because the means is always rotten, terrible. The end will remain rotten. He's trying to do good ends. Okay, very good. Build roads, that's the normal thing everybody should do. But the means with which he came in during the election can never justify what he's doing to be good. They are good acts, but they are not justified because of the things he did to get in. Because you saying that they are justified is like an encouragement to whoever has the same intention, whoever is willing to use the same means to come into power. So it's very important that we don't accept certain things that would give encouragement to people who want to also repeat the same scenario, who want to also learn and copy from such acts. There are other examples, numerous examples I would love to give. Just for the sake of YouTube policies, I may not want to be mentioning certain things or giving descriptions that would not be appropriate for the YouTube policies. But it is important we understand that when someone puts up a bad act, it does not justify whatever he does with the bad acts, the profits of the bad acts. When you put up a bad act, it does not justify the profits of your bad acts. So let's go back to the issue of intention and circumstance. The intention and the circumstance, these are two factors that should justify any act and make it good or bad. Where one may accept the end justifying the means is like when you work very hard, like the Super Falcons of Nigeria, for instance. They worked so hard, they trained so hard, and they played with dedication. and they listened to their coach or to the coaching staff and followed the teachings, what they were taught. And in the end, they realized the profits. They were able to win the cup. So that's where we will say the end justifies the means. Because this cup they won has been justified by the efforts they put in, the practice they put, the years of practice, training. Look at somebody like C. Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. Look at great, great sportsmen and women. I can go on mentioning names of people who have performed wonders in sports. One thing you will always see in their lives is the amount of efforts they put in, the training they undergo, the things they do to succeed. You will be marveled. You think they just sleep, wake up, and then go and participate in active sports? No. They do trainings, hours of training, very serious hours of training. I had a friend who was going for a swimming competition here in Germany, and I was discussing with him. It was in the afternoon. He looked at his watch and said, Anthony, I have to rush back home. I said, why? He said he has to go for training. I said, training? By this time? He said, yes, that he trains 2 times every day. I said, wow. 2 times every day? He said, yes. 2 times every day. He trains 4 hours in the morning. Wow, 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 wow. 4 hours in the morning. And then in the evening, he trains 2 hours. That is massive 6 hours of training every day to succeed. And he does this 6 times a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. He has only Sunday to rest. In fact, on Saturdays, he even trains more. I said, okay, maybe you're doing this because you are a professional swimmer. Interesting. Interesting. Now, when he succeeds in life, when his name is announced as a gold winner in an Olympic competition, for instance, people forget the hard years of labor and efforts he has put in. That is when exactly someone should say, the end has justified the means. But unfortunately, the end does not always justify the means. I stand to be corrected. If you have another analogy to give or whatever, I don't know what you think about it. You can put your comments, put it down in the comment section, and I'll be happy to know your own opinions. I'm happy to know your views about this. The end justifying the means. Is it correct? Or it is the means that should justify the ends, the end? You see parents struggling so hard to train their children. Parents work so hard. I remember the kind of sacrifices my parents made, the kind of efforts my parents put in to make sure that I go to school. I remember how my mother would go to markets and trade a hawk, yams. She had sold bananas, she had sold yams in the market. just to save some money and make sure I go to school. And in the end, I was able to finish school, do my doctorate degree. When I came out of school, when I got my doctorate degree, I called her and told her I have gotten my doctorate degree, I passed my exams, and I am now doctor. And she said, "Oh, thanks be to God." In this case, one can say, "Ah, the end has justified the means." Years of efforts, years of sacrifices, years of humble beginning, years of sweating, years of laboring. These years have paid off. These things, these sacrifices, they have paid off. The end, in this point, in this case, has justified the means. So when you tell me the end justifies the means, please, I want you to add not always to it. So I would rather say the end does not always justify the means. Not always. Sometimes, yes, but not always. Don't say I'm thinking like a philosopher. No, I'm trying to think normal and logical. But if you have other opinions, you can let me know. That would help me a lot to maybe change my view, change my opinion on the end justifying the means, or the means justifying the end. If you're just joining me now, I welcome you to my live program today. This live broadcast is coming to you from Germany, and the topic we are discussing today is the end or the means. So when someone says the end justifies the means, I would say no, not always. Sometimes the end justifies the means, but sometimes the end does not justify the means, especially when the means is a bad means. So the end justifies the means when the means is a good one. So why don't we put it this way, that one should rather say the end justifies the good means. Yes, the end justifies the good means. Then that would be more understandable. I still go back to these players who won the African Women's Cup of Nations. They have put in serious efforts. So they are perfect examples for me when one says the end justifies the means. Yeah, they have made sacrifices, they have suffered, they have put in a lot of efforts, and I think the the means they have put in has been justified by the end. So that should be a better way of understanding this statement. The means you have put in should always be able to justify the end. Not that the end will justify the means, even if it is a bad means. Then that is bad. So I would like it to always be that the end justifies the means if it is a good means. The end justifies the means if the means is an honorable means, if it is an appropriate means. But the end cannot justify the means if the means is a bad means. Because the bad means may not always bring bad end. A bad means can bring good end. But even though a bad means brings a good end, it does not make the means to be good. And because it does not make the means to be good, then the end is not even justified. So we should always remember that there is what we call justice. This is what we call justice. People should try always to be good. People should try always to do good. Not just to be good, but to do good, to make effort to do good. So when you make sincere effort to do bad, and from the bad things you have done, you get some good results, you tell me that, oh, then it is good to do bad. No, it is not good to do bad. And I can never support someone to do bad. I cannot. So it is bad to be bad. It is good to be good. So every time, think about it. Remember it always. It is good to be good. It is bad to be bad. And a good means should always bring a good end. But even when a good means does not bring a good end, one should not say that the means is not good, or one should not say that the means should be dropped. No, a good means may not always bring a good end. A good means may not always result in success. But I would want you to always try as much as possible to maintain your focus, to be good. If your focus is to be good, if your focus is to be nice, if your focus is to make sincere efforts, please be sincerely good, be sincerely nice, make sincere efforts to be good. It is important to always be good. So, like I said in my yesterday's video, that we should make effort to be good always, always. You should make sincere efforts to be good always, always. So, be good always, always. Even when it does not pay you, even when you do not profit. It's just like someone who finds himself or herself in a crisis of morality, in a crisis of choice. You want to make a choice to be good or to be bad. And that's about life. Life is about choices. So the choices we make can affect us positively or negatively. So if we make good choices, we can have good results. If we make bad choices, we can have bad results. So, but it is important always to make good choices. It is important to be positively minded. So when we make good choices, God begins to help us. The heavens begins to assist us. So let's think seriously about it. It's good to be good, bad to be bad. It is bad to be bad. It is good to be good. But in this case, in this circumstance, I will say, yes, the good will lead to good end. So the end justifies the means. But when the good leads to bad end, the end has not justified the means, but it is good to be good still. So it's not only about good end and good means, or good end and bad means. No, even when you use a good means may lead to a bad end. Someone may have done serious sacrifices, put in so much effort, but the result is bad. The result is not good. It does not result in good end. It shouldn't lead one to discouragement. One should not be discouraged when such things happen. Be good still. One should not say, because I have made efforts, I have sincerely tried to be good, and it has led to bad end. Now let me try to use a bad means. No, please don't change. Remain good. Always be good, so that even when the result is good or bad, you have good means. Keep the good means. So it's like an advice. So I am gradually coming to the end of today's video. I would be happy to encourage us to think properly about the choices we make in life, about the acts we put up. Because your acts are influenced by the choices you make. You should make choice to do good. If you make choice to do good, you will most often have a good end. Most often have a good end. But if you make the choice to do bad always, you may most often have a bad end. But when even you make the choice to do bad, and you get a good end, a good result, it does not justify the badness of the act you have put up. So in this case, it is not always that the end justifies the means. A good means should justify the end, and an end should justify a good means, but not a, a, a good end justifying a bad means. I do not support that. That is the logic I'm trying to put in. So if you think I'm wrong, if you think you have a different opinion, please put it down in the comment section. Let me know your opinion. Let me know your take on this. And if I find your opinion logical, I will be willing to change. I'm always open to learn. I want to learn. I want to learn. Yes, sincerely. I humbly, I humbly say I want to learn. Always. Learning is a continuous process from birth to death, from the beginning of your life to the end of your life. Learning is a continuous process. So we must always learn. We learn new things every day. I'm open to learning. I want to learn. I want to learn new things. No matter what it takes, I want to learn. So thank you for being present. Thank you for watching me. Thank you for being part of this today's live program. I really appreciate your presence. And for those who have already written their comments, thank you. I will go through your comments and maybe respond to them. Thank you so much. I appreciate your presence. And I wish you a wonderful day. God bless you. But don't forget, the end does not always justify the means. The end sometimes justifies the means, and that is when the means is a good means. So have a wonderful day, and I wish you a happy Sunday.